This is a topic that I mentioned previously in some of my past videos, and that's this idea of imposter syndrome. I feel like as artists, imposter syndrome is such like a common thing, especially when you start to see a little bit of success in your art career. I know for me, I still struggle with imposter syndrome when opportunities come my way. Now, what even is imposter syndrome? According to Google, imposter syndrome is a psychological experience of feeling like a fraud or doubting one's accomplishments, even when the evidence of success exists. So honestly, imposter syndrome kind of leads people to think that their achievements, their success is kind of due to luck or external factors rather than their own skill, their own experience, and their own effort and talent. This has definitely been like an all too common feeling for me. And honestly, sometimes it leads to me doing things like undercharging for my work, because sometimes I don't believe that my work or my skills are good enough to charge what they're actually worth, if that makes sense. I remember earlier off in my art career, I got this opportunity to do this album cover for a decently known artist in the States, and I was so excited, and I was excited to work with them, but I remember charging so low for my work because I didn't think that my art was that good to be charging what it's actually worth for the project that I was given. And to this day, that album that I did the album cover for is their top album on Spotify. And I love this artist. This has nothing to do with the artist, this is all me. But I look back now and I'm like, my imposter syndrome prevented me from actually realizing what my work was worth and what it was valued. And the fact that they reached out to me shows me that I actually did have good art, otherwise they wouldn't have reached out to me. But the imposter syndrome kind of blocked me from realizing that, thus made me undercharge for my work. What I'm trying to say is that imposter syndrome can stop us as artists from 1, taking on new opportunities, and 2, valuing our work for what it's actually worth. Even now, I'm starting to be a bit more intentional with charging for what my time and my services are actually worth. But I still get this looming feeling that I'm not gonna measure up to what people expect of my art and my work, or measure up to other artists, that I'm gonna be found out as untalented, even though the skills that I've built up over these past years, literal years, tells me otherwise. So how can we overcome this? This is something that I've been thinking about for a while and like trying to unpack and figure out. I think by identifying the ways that imposter syndrome can show up in our life as artists is such an important key step to kind of overcoming this. I think it can manifest itself in different ways, like doubting your success or feeling like you don't deserve certain opportunities that are coming your way, or even attributing your achievements to luck, which in some cases it's not luck, it's just you. If you ever find yourself downplaying your achievements, like saying, oh, it's just beginner's luck, or I don't deserve this, like all these things, or if you have a subconscious fear of exposure, which I feel like is something that's really common for people. You feel like people will realize that your work isn't that good. So you shy away from just sharing your work, posting it online, sharing with other people because you fear exposure. Or if you're constantly striving for this perfect, flawless work because you feel like if you don't meet that perfection standard, people will see that you're not as good as you actually say. All of these things could be a sign of imposter syndrome in you and in me. I think a lot of artists, including myself, struggle a lot with self-doubt. I think because the nature of creative work in general is very personal, a lot of times we can link our self-worth to our creative work. But that shouldn't be the case, guys. You know, I'm reading this book called God is Beauty, and it's for a book for artists. It's like a little retreat that was put on by Pope John Paul II. And it talks about how no function of the human being, in this case, the art that we create, is more important than the human being itself. At the end of the day, your art isn't linked to your intrinsic value as a human being. And you shouldn't derive your self-worth from whether or not other people accept your art or whether or not you accept it. Like, they're two separate entities. And I think it's important to understand this in order to overcome imposter syndrome and to continue to actually grow and become a better artist. Okay, now that we understand imposter syndrome, I want to give you guys some practical tips that I feel like has helped me sort of grow through this whole imposter syndrome thing. No, I'm not completely healed or cured of this imposter syndrome, but I feel like these tips have sort of help me along my journey.
We could take off and then handle the jet.
Number one is to celebrate the small wins. Like I said before, I feel like sometimes, I know for me, I can brush off really cool things that I've done. Like I'll do like a really cool project, or I'll work for someone really cool, or I'll get to show my art or showcase my art in a really big event. And sometimes I just sort of brush it off because I'm like, it's not that deep. Like, you know, like I didn't, like, this is just luck, you know? But the moment that I stopped actually waiting for that big, perfect achievement is the moment that I realized that I can actually enjoy where I am in my process, in my journey. And I started gaining more confidence in my skills as an artist. It's about valuing the journey and not just the destination.
Whatever it is, I got my...
Number two, I feel like we all need to step outside of our comfort zone. This is a big one for me because I feel like it actually really pushes you to develop your confidence in your skills and develop what you know you can actually do. Like honestly, start that Instagram page that you've been putting off for months and months and months. Go to that networking event, find that opportunity, push yourself out of your comfort zone because you never know what can actually come out of it. For instance, next month, I'm actually teaching my first ever digital painting workshop, which is completely out of my comfort zone. I feel like who am I to teach other people how to paint? But I've had enough DMs, I've had enough comments, I've had enough people come up to me asking me how I actually digitally paint, and I figured why not teach a workshop on it? And this is completely out of my comfort zone. I feel like this imposter syndrome is starting to come through where I'm like, oh man, is my process good enough? Am I even like a good enough artist to be even teaching other people how to paint? Like, am I gonna teach people wrong? Like, what's the right way of, all these things start coming into my head, and I'm like, okay, breathe, relax. You have been given this opportunity. It's gonna be okay. And you have the skills that someone reached out to you to teach a workshop. Therefore, you can do it. Now, imagine if I had said, oh, no. I can't teach a workshop. So-and-so is so much better than me. So-and-so is this, comparing myself to other artists or comparing imagine if I said no, then I wouldn't have had this opportunity to try something completely new. And if it goes well next month, hey, who knows? This could be something that I continually do and something that I can add to my skill set and add to my income stream. There's so many doors that could open from me doing this workshop. And I think that if I had let imposter syndrome take over, those doors would never be open.
Wow, I love it.
Number three is to track your progress over time. Take pictures, take videos, see how far you've actually come, because I feel like sometimes we forget how far or where we've actually come from because we're just looking at where we need to go, if that makes sense. I love keeping my old Instagram posts on my Instagram because it gives me motivation, because sometimes when I'm feeling like I can't do stuff, I scroll all the way down and I look back and I'm like, dang, back then you couldn't do stuff, but now you're chilling. Not chilling, but you've grown. And I think that's the point, understanding that it is an iterative process. It's a process that you grow from and you learn from, and you don't need to be perfect. But knowing where you've come from can help you have more confidence in your skills as an artist and celebrate that as well.
Fight for your love life.
And the last tip I say is to embrace imperfections. Like I said, it's not a perfect process. It's never going to be a perfect process. And it's important to understand and accept that no artwork and no artist is going to be perfect. And mistakes and imperfections are all part of the whole creative process. That's how it works. And learning to accept these flaws and move forward and grow from them, rather than being trapped in this cycle of self-criticism and all these things, is how you actually grow as an artist and grow in your creativity as well. Anyways, that is my experience with imposter syndrome and my tips to help you overcome it as well. Let me know in the comments if you have any more tips, or if you yourself are struggling with imposter syndrome. Maybe we can help each other in the comments and stuff like that. But yeah, it is something that you grow through, and it's hard, and I'm still struggling with it. So I need all the tips I can get as well. Anyway, that's all for me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.